And welcome to the interview on France 24. In May, voters across the European Union will elect 751 deputies to the European Parliament. But recent polls suggest anti-EU populists of the left and right could take up to 25% of the Assembly's seats. France's Front National, the Dutch Freedom Party, the UK Independence Party, well, they all draw on anti-immigrant feeling and popular dissatisfaction towards the European Union. So how can mainstream parties respond to this tide of anti-European populism? I've invited Alain Lamassoure. He's a former French European Affairs Minister who currently serves as member of the European Parliament. Mr. Lamassoure, welcome to the interview.
Hello.
Now, you've been a member of the European Parliament for 15 years, and you'll be running this year in the constituency of Ile-de-France. It's Greater Paris, so to speak. First of all, how worried are you that we will see a tide, a wave of anti-EU parties storming the EU Parliament in May?
Well, I'm not sure that it will be a great difficulty for the European Parliament, because if there are, let's say, 200, for instance, Eurosceptic MEPs among a total of 751, we can still manage to have a majority to pass the legislation. And all the more so since these parties are xenophobic, populist, anti-European, unable to agree among themselves.
Are you so sure? Because
unite.
we know that the two main parties, the Freedom Party and the Front National, Mr. Wilders and Mrs. Le Pen, would like to form a political group within the Parliament.
Yes, they try. But one is anti-Islamic, the other one anti-Jewish, and every of them is very nationalist. So apart to say no to all what is decided in Brussels, they are not able to work together. What worries me much more is the political consequences in our national states and in our domestic politics. For instance, in France, if, on the occasion of the European election, the National Front got more votes than our political party, the main opposition party in France, that
and
would
the
mean,
Socialist Party, and that's what
and
polls
the
seem
Socialist
to
Party,
suggest.
Today, the elections will take place in 4 months. And in the meantime, in France, we will be holding municipal elections. So everybody is now focusing on the municipal elections, and there will be a new political situation given the outcome
And
of
what
the
happens
municipal
if the
elections.
Front National wins?
If it
European
wins,
elections?
that would mean that the French are very angry against the current rulers, the socialists, but that the UMP wouldn't be considered by the French as credible.
The UMP is, of course, the party of former President Nicolas Sarkozy. It's your
the French
party.
Conservative Party.
Now, let me ask you, who is responsible for this? Do you take part of the responsibility as a member of the European Parliament? Do you think that the current Parliament failed to respond to all these fears that you just described?
Well, it's a general responsibility. First, in France, there is the responsibility of all those who have ruled France for the last 15 years. The left, the right, and now the left. And France is now, unfortunately, l'homme malade,
the sick man of Europe.
The sick man of Europe. All the reforms which have been done in Northern Europe 10 or 15 years ago, which have begun more recently in Spain and Portugal, are now still belated in France with very poor economic results. And of course, there are a responsibility for the European institutions, because we have taken too much time and with too obscure procedures to settle the problem of Greece, the problem of debt, the problem of how we maintain the unity of the Eurozone. And of course, we must now prove that we have understood all these shortcomings, and we are ready to, of course, lead Europe in another direction.
Now, I remind our viewers that the European Parliament is the only democratically elected body within the European institutions. I guess it's difficult to sell Europe to your voters.
It is if we continue to speak about Europe in terms of ideology and great principle, federalist against sovereignists. The problem is not that one right now. Now, with the experience of crisis, we know that our economic interests are so related, interconnected, that the community of destiny is achieved. But what we must now set up is the means of solidarity among the member states. And there will be a very important democratic novelty in this election, because for the first time, the voters all around Europe will elect not only the members of the European Parliament, but also through the European Parliament, Mr. or Mrs. Europe, the head of the European executive power, the president of the European
Because every
Commission.
party will select a candidate
Exactly.
who will represent a party. You hope that it will give more visibility, that Europeans will
Exactly.
understand who they are voting for. Well, let me ask you, who will be your candidate at the European People's Party?
We don't know. We don't know yet.
Isn't it a bit late? There's 4 months to go to the election.
Yes, of course. It should have happened sooner, but in 2 or 3 weeks we will know who is the candidate.
Who is your ideal candidate? Who would catch the imagination of Europeans?
Well, the French, my party has a candidate, Mr. Barnier, who was
You can see him on the screen,
vice president
EU Commissioner.
of the European Commission, and who was particularly efficient to tackle the issue of the financial markets and banks and insurances, all these international and European regulations after the financial crisis. But what is important is that for the first time, our party, European People's Party, the center-right, the Socialists, their candidate is already nominated,
Martin
Mr.
Schulz,
Schulz,
the president of the European Parliament.
The Lib Dem, the former Prime Minister, Belgian,
Guy Verhofstadt.
Guy Verhofstadt, the Greens, my fellow countryman José Bové with the huge moustache, and our candidate will tour all the 28 capitals member states. They will speaking everywhere. They will have to say the same thing everywhere, obliging us within every European political family to have the same European agenda.
And do you believe Mr.
platform.
Barnier is the best man to sell your program?
I hope so. I hope so. And we will decide in a few weeks with our partners. But what is important is that the President of the European Commission will be elected exactly as the British Prime Minister or
and you're
the
confident
German
that EU
Bundeskanzler
leaders
is elected.
will abide by this rule. They won't try to sort of backtrack on their promise and appoint their own man.
Or woman.
Or woman.
It will depend on the results, of course.
Okay.
But they will be in the position of the British Queen. If the Conservatives or the Labour wins a landslide victory, politically she's obliged to nominate, to appoint the winner. If it's a close shave, so it will be
Talking
different.
about the British Queen, as you know, across the channel, David Cameron is facing a lot of pressure from the Eurosceptic wing within his own party, from UKIP, which I mentioned at the beginning of the programme. Mr. Cameron says, look, what I need at this stage is to renegotiate Britain's relationship with Europe and put the final result to British voters in an in-out referendum in 2017. Do you follow him?
Yes, it's a good decision. And we need that. Probably the British people need that. It's up to them to decide. But on the continent also, because we watch, and very worryingly, what is happening now in the UK, we need to know exactly what the British people want.
Once and for all. You're in
Once
or out?
and for all. So
Okay.
far, they have managed to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They are not very comfortable with that, and we are not either. So it's up to them to decide.
What is your preferred scenario?
We would prefer to have them in the EU, of
But-
course. But they are a sovereign people, and if they prefer, after a long debate, to quit, so be it.
President Hollande recently visited the United Kingdom, met his British counterpart. He said, "I don't want a treaty change. That's not a priority for France." Now, David Cameron is precisely demanding a treaty change to sort of repatriate some powers from Brussels to London. It looks like a deadlock.
Well, we have introduced in the European Treaty a divorce clause. It is Article 50. Every country, at every time which wants to leave the Union because it doesn't feel at ease anymore in the Union, can do it. Well, if Britain wants to raise a question of confidence to the British people, so be it.
Can David Cameron win this referendum?
Well, nobody can say. Nobody can say, because this referendum was forecast very cautiously for the year 2015. In the meantime, a general election will take place 2015 or etc. And as long as the public debate has not started, representatives of the trade unions, the business, the city have not expressed their views. So probably the general sentiment will remain what it is in Britain. When the debate starts, it may be quite different.
Okay, we'll be following that, of course. Alain Lamassoure, I remind our viewers that you're a member of the European Parliament for the European People's Party. Thank you very much for talking to us. And thank you for watching this edition of The Interview on France 24. Please stay with us for more news.